Hello and welcome. Derek Chevalier here for CCN Sunrise. And my guest today, James Farr, husband, father, social media entrepreneur who hosts the program Conversation.live on Facebook. I'm going to talk to him about his life and his input and what he sees as some of the key issues in our country and in community today. So welcome, James. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your broadcast.
Yeah, the Conversation.live is a Facebook live streaming platform where we spend about 20 to 25 minutes unpacking issues with our guests. And those issues wrap around social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. And so if we can wrap those conversations around those four pillars, I think we provide a pretty good platform and content for our guests and our audience.
So you're looking both at these issues from a local, how they're impacting local community, and then the greater community across the country and the world.
Absolutely. We do have a very localized footprint here with content. And then also on Thursdays, we focus more on a national look with our partners at MCU Voice.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about who have some of your guests been?
Wow, I've been giving a lot of coverage right now to the Christopher Ballou case involving Pasadena Police Department. So just last week I had former Mayor Bill Perperian on for the second time. I've had congressional candidate Brian Witt on. I've even had former Chief Sanchez on, and I'm looking forward to interviewing the new interim chief, John Perez.
And when does he come on, by the way?
We haven't set a date yet. We're really kind of following the story right now, and things seem to be evolving and in some cases devolving rather quickly in this whole story.
So would you say that that particular case was typical of the cases involving black men being fired upon by white officers, or were there a lot of elements to that particular case that were different? How would you make that?
This was similar yet different, and specifically in this case, this involved a very savage beating of a motorist. The officers in this case were not white, they were Latino. And so there is no typical way to be denied your constitutional rights. I mean, it is a unique experience, and some in law enforcement and the general public would like you to believe that these are isolated ironies, and it's not.
Right, but in this particular case, these officers, as I understand it, were not actually from the jurisdiction where the beating took place. Is that correct?
No, and in fairness, officers in the state of California are 24 hours a day. They can enforce the law anywhere they see a crime committed. Now, you have to focus back on the policy. The policy of a Pasadena Police Department is extraterritorial arrest, which simply means if they're in pursuit or hot pursuit of a suspect or a crime that's in progress that begins in Pasadena and then spills over into another jurisdiction, then of course they need to do what they need to do to effect the arrest. And in this case, who knows what they were doing? I mean, they were a half a mile into Altadena, headed northbound, and Mr. Ballou was headed southbound, and when they decided to pull him over.
And turned around. As I understand it, he was driving, went into a gas station. There was no hot pursuit. There was no specific crime in progress that the officers were responding to. It wasn't that he looked like somebody who had been involved in a crime in the area. So those are different facts, because in some of the other facts, people actually were running from a crime or were involved or somehow looked like somebody that might have been involved. In this case, none of that was true, as I understand.
No, not at all. He was pulling into a gas station. And then they decided to go hands-on first. And, through my conversations with law enforcement officials, one of the things that they consistently say, some have said Robert Grant, who is a conservative Republican and retired police sergeant, said on my very program, he would have walked Mr. Ballou into the cuffs. But consistently what the law enforcement officials that I've talked to have all said is once you go there, there is no kind of halfway doing it. Once the officer decides to put his hands on a suspect or a person of interest, at that moment, they have to effect the arrest. So we got to kind of question why they chose to immediately go hands-on, as opposed to not so much how it ratcheted up, because it could have only gotten worse. And fortunately, Christopher is still alive today.
Right. So it's an ongoing debate and an ongoing question that has local issue. Do you think that particular issue that it matters that these officers were Latino rather than white? Does that impact the conversation?
It could certainly complicate it, and it's been commented on some of the threads that I've put up in the reporting I've done, and that it looks a little bizarre that because these officers are Latino, that there may suggest a bigger issue in a community that nobody's really talking about. Now, is this a racial thing? I don't know. Is it an implicit bias thing, which is the new buzzword now? Probably so. But what it is certainly stewards of the court, our law enforcement, are the ones who are supposed to serve and protect us, actually doing the harm.
In a lot of cases. Yeah. Thank you, James, so much. I want to encourage you to watch James's program, Conversation.live on Facebook. Look him up on social media. Great opportunity to hear your voice there too. And if you've got topics James ought to be following up on, you should let him know. Thanks for watching.